Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Today is the first day of winter, and it feels like the first day of winter, let me tell you. Anyway, I've been trying to make this video a few times now, and I'm not having very good luck. I'm not sure how to present this. But what I have today is a story. Many of you guys out there who know me, or maybe follow my videos for a while, you know I got sick last year with COVID, which turned into pneumonia, and I almost died. And I always told you guys I was going to come back and give you my whole COVID story. And it's been a year now and I haven't done it yet. I don't know if I don't want to revisit it. And it is a very big, long story. So, again, I'm having trouble presenting this to you guys, and this is a shorter story. I'm not exactly sure I'm going to do that long, extended COVID story. But it is about a year anniversary since they pulled the ventilator out on me. So I wanted to come here, and I had an experience on Christmas Eve that was pretty interesting. So stick around if you want to hear my story about that. We will call this my Christmas Angel, and it is about my experience with the traveling nurse down at the hospital. Alright, hopefully you guys stuck around. I'm going to do the best I can here. Bear with me. So, my Christmas Angel. We'll start a little before that a ways. Like I said, I had COVID. Ended up in the ER, which turned into the ICU with the ventilator for 4 or 5 days. I eventually had the ventilator pulled out. It was a Monday. I don't really remember much of that, but I remember it was a struggle. So fast forward, this is the week before Christmas now. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they were my hardest days. And it definitely was a struggle. A lot of masks, a lot of different ways to get oxygen into me. I couldn't do a whole lot. But them first 3 days I had really quality, high-end nurses, it felt like. Now by then it was getting 23rd, 24th of December. Wednesday night, I had a new group of nurses from what it looked like. And those nurses probably weren't quite the caliber of the ones I had in the beginning, which was understandable. I kind of made it through the bad part, I think. And these new nurses were more caregiver type people, which was a plus too, you know. I ain't complaining about that. So yeah, Wednesday night and the Thursday, again, more of a caregiver type nurse. Even the big shot doctors were gone. By that point, the hospital didn't seem to have nearly as many people around. Everybody was in holiday mode. Meanwhile, I was in the ICU, mostly by myself, looking out a window. Also, this whole time since Monday into Thursday, I did not sleep a wink. It was basically impossible to sleep because I was experiencing some delusion. You know, every time I closed my eyes, I seen some weird, crazy stuff. Made it impossible to fall asleep. So Thursday night, I got some new Beats headphones. Chris bought them for me. I was hoping that could maybe help me fall asleep. That was Christmas Eve. So Thursday night into Friday is when Friday switched into Christmas Eve. But Thursday night into Friday, it was an interesting night. I had the new headphones on. I couldn't fall asleep again. But with these new headphones, man, I was listening to some music and it sounded amazing. So I was up. Last time I remember, it was 4 in the morning. Still listening to some good tunes. And I think I finally zonked out. Now I couldn't tell you if I zonked out for 5 minutes or 50 minutes. But I don't think it was any more than an hour. I'm pretty sure it was much less than that. Anyway, I wake up, you know, still had the Beats around me, took them off, and it was Christmas Eve at that point, Christmas Eve morning. And Christmas Eve turned out to be quite the day, and that's where we're going to start here. So Christmas Eve morning, I don't know, 5 in the morning, I wake up, I'm looking around, there's not a soul in sight, I don't see anybody around. I don't hear anything. You know, a couple beeps out of my machines here and there. And my mask, you know, made some noise. but nobody around. And in my head, I don't know why, Christmas Eve morning, you know, I was ready to go. I was ready to leave. I mean, in reality, I wasn't ready to leave, but in my mind at that time, I was ready to go home. So there was nobody around, 5 in the morning. I got this mask strapped to my head, and I start removing this mask. Now this sucker is really on there. I didn't know. I was pulling that thing. I could not get that thing off. I was getting to the point where I was hearing it crack and stuff. But even the way my mind was at the time, I still told myself, I don't want to break this thing. So I'm working at it. At the same time, I was willing to break it. I would have broke it off if I really had to, because it was coming off my head no matter what. I was getting this thing off. Finally, I don't know, I hit the right thing or something, and I was able to release it from my head, pull it off, and that's been helping me breathe since I've been in there. But I never even thought of that. So I got the thing off, set it down, and I was still hooked up to some other things. Another side note, this whole time in there, I could not use the regular bathroom. For whatever reason, that was actually too far to walk with my breathlessness. I couldn't really move that far. So they gave me this little cart thing to go to the bathroom in, which was almost demoralizing, I hate to say. But for whatever reason, when I woke up this morning, I was going to go to the real bathroom. So I had the mask off, sat up, realized I was still hooked up to all this other stuff. So, my thought process was getting unhooked. Maybe I'm going home. So I just started pulling everything off, unhooking whatever I could. And I unhooked myself from everything except maybe I had an IV. I don't think I was going to try pulling that out. But I was able to unhook everything and drag the cart. And I walked farther than I walked since before I was ventilated, all the way to the bathroom and sat down on a real toilet in a real bathroom. So I was just sitting in there, no oxygen source. I never even thought of it. As far as I remember, I was breathing fine. And I was in there for a while. It was great to use a real bathroom for once. And next thing you know, I finally hear the door open in my room. And my nurse comes running in, half frantic, like, "What's going on in here, Joe?" I'm like, "I'm in here." She comes in here, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to the bathroom." "What happened to your mask?" I'm like, "I took it off." Then I started computing. I'm like, "Man, I'm sorry. I woke up, I guess I was kind of delusional, and I had to take everything off, so I did. I'm sorry about that." And she's like, "It's all right. It happens. That's okay." But she was kind of scrambling. She went and grabbed the standard oxygen off the wall and dragged that in for me and put that on. I'm not sure I even needed it. So she kind of let me stay in there for a few minutes and eventually helped me back up, walked me back to the bed. Again, the furthest I walked. And, I had to get the big mask back on, get all hooked back up. And that was probably 6 a.m. or so. And her shift was till 8 o'clock, I believe. So yeah, 8 o'clock rolls around and the shift change happens. And usually I see the respiratory people. And I wore a different mask. Like 12 hours at night, I wore the thing that was really stuck to my face. I'm not sure what they're called. And during the day, it was more of just a thin on my nose. It wasn't normal oxygen, but it really blew like heat and oxygen up my nose. So that guy came in and he put that on. Again, like I said, it was 8 a.m. And I can't remember if I did it right then at 8 or if he came in a couple hours later to check. But I told the guy, "Can you turn it down?" Because usually they've been running this thing at full blast or, at the highest setting. So he kind of looked at me, he's like, You think I can turn it down? I'm like, yeah, let's try it. He's like, all right, I'll try it. So he dropped it down a couple settings and he said, I'll come back. I'm like, perfect. So he set it down. I guess he didn't talk to the nurses about it because the nurse came in and like, oh, how come this is down? And I'm like, well, I asked him to, and he said it'd be all right. And she's like, oh, okay. So I guess the next couple hours, my oxygen levels were doing well on that lower setting. And he came in later, the respiratory guy, or maybe the nurse went back and forth, and they dropped it down another couple levels again. And I guess my oxygen stayed pretty good. So by the afternoon, I kind of let this nurse be. It was a busy Christmas Eve, and you could tell they were short-staffed. So I didn't try bothering people unless I really had to. Christmas Eve, I was really getting into my head that, all right, I'm going to get the heck out of here. Again, in my head, I was hoping to get out of there that night, which was dumb to even think, but why not? So the nurse is in there, the doctor is in there. This is probably noonish, early afternoon, and I'm talking to them both. And I kind of said to them, I'm like, I can't live in this hospital. I got to eventually figure out how to get out of here. So I'm like, I don't know exactly what it was. If it was a feeding thing in my nose or something like that. Anyway, they're like, do you want us to take it out? I'm like, yeah. So that was another step. Again, on Christmas Eve, they pulled this tube out of my nose. Again, my oxygen level was sitting well with the low setting on my oxygen mask. And then a couple hours later again, this is 3-4 o'clock, they came in and we just completely pulled the mask off the oxygen machine I was on. And we switched it over to the regular oxygen that, most hospitals use off the wall there. So we put that oxygen on at, I believe, the highest setting. And again, every couple hours, we would turn that down too. So Christmas Eve morning, I went from full mask, full, setting, with that mask being taken off, down to oxygen, and then oxygen being lowered throughout the afternoon. So that was quite a turn of events in one day. So by the afternoon, we're getting around. I was on 1 or 2 setting with the oxygen. I think that's where everybody was going to leave it for now. And the hospital was clearing out, especially when it was getting closer to shift change. For some reason in the back of my head, and I was waiting for Chris to call, I'm like, I don't know. In the back of my head, I thought I was going to get out of there for some reason. Even though Chris and the kids were all at home on Christmas Eve, sounded like they were here, home, baking cookies and stuff. So maybe I was just getting, I don't know, homesick or whatever in the hospital. I've been in there for quite a while. I've been listening to some music all day, Thursday. Doing my best to survive, And after talking to Chris, I realized, well, apparently I'm not going to come home tonight. So I guess another day or another night in the hospital. Like I said earlier, I think at this point, the main nurses were kind of gone on vacation, I guess, for the holidays. So what happened this night, Christmas Eve night, I had a traveling nurse show up. I wasn't even sure that those existed. Maybe I did. So yeah, she comes in and says, hi, I'm a traveling nurse, blah, blah, blah. She had quite the personality on her. I believe she said she was from Ohio, blah, blah, blah. And she was really rambunctious. She was definitely like a nurse I've never experienced before, and I'm not complaining. This is my Christmas angel. That's her, I guess. That's an interesting story, and we finally got to that point. So, yeah, Christmas Eve, hospital, it appeared to be empty. Of course, I was in the ICU. I only had one little window to look out. But I've been there a week now, so I've seen all the hustling out there. And tonight, there was none of that. Anyway, Christmas Eve, I'm trying to get a little Christmas feeling. I haven't watched the TV the whole time I've been there. I finally turned that on. I kind of got a tradition for myself. I believe it's A Wonderful Life. It's always on CBS Channel 3. I usually watch that every Christmas Eve. Or at least if I'm not watching it, it's kind of hanging out in the background. So I was able to find that, kick back, and watch that. And I remember the nurse came in and she's like, "Oh, that's like my favorite movie." I'm like, "Awesome, man." So this nurse, like, she was very talkative. You guys know me, I'm not a super talkative guy. Just blah, blah, blah. To the point it got a little annoying here and there. But I could tell she was trying her best. You know, she had no clue about the hospital. I think she might even ask me where the bathroom was at one point. I'm like, I have no clue. So it was definitely her first time there. She didn't know where nothing was. Because she was on a search for a lot of things to try helping me, the way it sounded. So she was in a lot. She's trying to find me something I want to eat. Again, I didn't eat hardly anything that whole week. I couldn't eat. I had all that stuff on me. I think I was just cleared where I could swallow. So I just started eating on my own. She's bringing me like graham crackers and whatever else she could find. And I have no appetite. I try nibbling this stuff and it just doesn't work. But she tried her best. She was working hard, trying to get me to eat something. And then apparently, my appearance might have been a little rough. You know, I got the old beard. Back then I had the long, super long hair. It was down to mid-back by then. And, you know, I've been rolling around in the hospital bed on ventilators for, at that point, 10 days now. You know, I haven't had no showers or anything since then. I think I had a couple nurse baths with some wipes. So, she was on a mission to somehow clean me up. So she'd come in, she's almost begging me, like, "Do you want me to wash you up?" I'm like, you know, I don't know. And she starts looking, she's finding all this shampoos and stuff like that. Finally, she somehow coaxed me into the bathroom. Her mission was to get me all cleaned up, I guess. At first, I wasn't sure about it. Like, again, she had a pretty strong personality, but I went along with it. I could tell she was really trying hard. So, I followed her into the bathroom where she had to help me in there. I don't remember how good I could walk at that point. But I'm in there, sitting on a chair, and she is proceeding to take all the ties out of my hair, and she somehow got me leaning into the sink. I think by about 10 minutes in, she had basically all my clothes off. I was just sitting there with like a towel around me, and she didn't care. She was just scrubbing away, washing me up. And, which I ain't gonna lie, it felt good. It's been who knows how many days, who knows how much crap was in my hair, and I had a lot of stuff just stuck to my skin from the ventilators and stuff like that. So she was working on getting a lot of that stuff off. And, you know, it was great. And another cool thing she did, she asked me if I wanted pants. I'm like, "I can have pants?" She's like, "Yeah." Because, you know, them hospital robes, them things are the freaking worst, man. I hate them things. So I was wearing a robe all week, you know, trying to deal with that thing. And she went on a mission. She's like, "All right." Again, I was laying in the sink, like a towel around me. I think Chris had brought me in some fresh clothes too, so I could put a little bit of that on too. And she's like, "Wait here, I'm gonna go see what I can find." And she was gone for like 10 minutes. I was just kind of hanging out there. And she finally comes busting back in. She had like these blue hospital pants. I think that was the best pair of pants I ever put on in my life. It felt great, man, getting rid of them robes. So, you know, awesome. She got me all cleaned up and got me back into the bed. Now we're pushing 10, 11 o'clock at night. All the lights are dim in the hospital. Not a sound around, except for the sound of my beepers. Meanwhile, this whole time, I believe, what is this, Friday evening? Since Wednesday, I was in atrial fibrillation the whole time. And sometimes that ramps up and it sets off the monitors beeping and stuff like that. So she got me in the bed. And again, pretty strong personality. She's like, okay, you want me to tuck you in? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, you want me to tuck you in so you can get a good night's sleep? I'm like, well, I don't know if that's going to happen. I haven't slept since I've been here. She's like, oh, we'll get you to sleep. I'm like, okay. So I'm laying there. She's tucking everything in. Super nice. She's making sure there ain't a bunch of cords hanging around. And then there's a couple beeps here and there. She's like, I'm going to shut those sounds off, Hopefully you can get a good night's sleep. I'm like, oh, would have been nice if they would have shut them off the other nights. I wasn't even sure they could do that. So she tucked me in, shut all the sounds off, turned the lights off, maybe shortly before midnight, and it worked. I thought it was quite a miracle, as I haven't slept in 5 or 6 days. Next thing you know, I'm in a dream. In this dream, I am walking around Muir Park. If you guys are local to this area, you know where Muir Park is. It is a place that I somewhat frequently hike. And maybe part of this story with the Muir Park thing is one of the last things I remember before going to the ER and getting ventilated was me, Eddie, and Chris went on a hike, when we thought we were done with the COVID stuff. So anyway, here I am dreaming. Muir Park, I still kind of remember it. Very snowy. Now it's not the Muir Park that we know. Obviously your dreams kind of change that stuff. But I found my way into a little shack out at Muir Park. And that, after I got in the shack's a little blurry. But I kind of remember still dreaming and somebody in the shack talking to me a little bit and somehow slipping me a pill in my mouth or something. I'm dreaming. I just took the pill, kept on sleeping and dreaming, And eventually I woke up and, I guess I slept. At this point when I woke up, I wasn't really sure what was happening. Like my eyes were half open. I wasn't sure if I was in that shack or, I started coming more awake, looking around, and I actually felt peaceful that morning for the first time I have in a very long time. And I still wasn't moving. I was just sitting there, just with my eyes open, kind of taking everything in. And at that point, for some reason, I felt like, I think I knew I was in the hospital, but I felt like I was not where I was in Milwaukee. I felt like I was at a nice, smaller hospital. It was very quiet. It was peaceful. I kind of felt like I was in Portage or something. Like, I'm not saying it was Portage at all. I never really stayed in Portage, but just felt like I was in a place close to home. Not the old hectic Milwaukee hospital. So I kind of felt like that for a while, just sitting back in peace, waking up, and eventually the traveling nurse comes walking in through the door, and it kind of wakes me up to a little more reality. I kind of start looking around, and it starts making a little more sense. I'm like, all right, yeah, I know where I'm at. And she came in and she's like, oh, yeah, I was in about an hour ago and I gave you the pill for this morning. I believe it was maybe ditilozan for my atrial fibrillation. So what happened in my dream, actually, I was a little bit awake and it was actually the nurse giving me a pill. Just felt like it was in my dream. Anyway, we're getting 7:30. I think I slept about 6 hours that night. I felt like a new person. But yeah, she's telling me, oh, I gotta go, blah, blah. It's been great. And reality really hit then. Okay, now I know where I'm at. Back at the hospital. It is Christmas morning, and here we are. But I guess the story is my Christmas angel. I probably didn't say it as well as I should on here, but in the end, she gave me an amazing night. You know, after a long, hard week, long, hard battle, cleaning me up, you know, I'm sure that made me feel 10 times better than I have. Her tucking me in, her really caring, you know, you could tell that. Her shutting all the beeping off and everything and turning the lights down right. And she left. She didn't come in, I don't think, all night. She just let it be. And it was great. To me, Christmas Eve, hey, why not call it my Christmas angel, right? And then here we are, Christmas Day, another traveling nurse. I didn't have the same experience with this nurse as her, but, you know, I broke out the next day after Christmas. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. I'm not sure how well this video is going to turn out. Who knows? I'm kind of just blabbing on and on. I was hoping I could say it in a really cool way, but that probably did not happen, and I'm sorry. But hey, to all you nurses out there and traveling nurses, to my Christmas angel, I wish I knew who she was. I wish I could tell her this. I suppose if I really tried, I could probably track her down. But I'm assuming to her she was just doing her job. She gave me something. It was great. You know, I couldn't ask for anything more. Getting cleaned up and a good night's sleep at that point. Waking up and that peaceful days. You know, I don't think I'll ever forget that. So, to you, my Christmas angel, not that you'll ever see this in a million years, thank you very much. You made my Christmas, and you made my time in the hospital, you know, somewhat salvageable. On that note, everybody, I hope this was somewhat enjoyable. It is almost Christmas again. It is like the 21st today, 4 more days away. I gotta say Merry Christmas to everybody. There it is, everybody. My Christmas angel. I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching, everybody. We will be back. We might be on the road coming soon, so stay tuned for that. Again, thanks to all you subscribers out there. We will be back soon.